Okay, we're going to do a log cabin in 2 colors. I have cast on 10 stitches and with closed cast on, and I'm going to knit 20 rows. Except you don't want to skip a stitch here, dropping it, so just rehang it. And take that stitch there and hang it. This is how you repair a drop stitch on the edge. There we go. Okay, that's 3. Now hold it tight till it catches the first few stitches. You'll be good to go. Sometimes I forget to do it on the way back. Now that one split the stitch, so just rehang it. Grab the whole thread and restitch it. Very easy to fix. Okay, that's 5. Just take your time. Listen to your machine. Okay, that one dropped the stitch. And sometimes it's easier just to pick the stitch up and put it back on the machine. Okay. Okay, and you take, I use short double pointed needles. It's going to be a needle support, and remove this. Now you could cast off these if you wanted to, but I'm trying something different here. Okay, and up. Okay, now stick these over here for now because we're going to cast on 10 stitches. Okay, and you want this as close to the work as you can. Now you can go ahead and take the weights off. That'll make it a little bit lighter to work with. We'll be putting them back on the 10 that we cast off here. Okay. And just get that as close as you can, and then start without splitting the yarn. Now rehang. You could have hung this one first if you want. Then we're going to knit 2 rows. Okay. Make sure your latches are open. Okay, and knit 2 rows. Excuse me. Hang your weights. I have a tendency to forget to hang my weights. And if you drop a stitch in the middle, just rehang it and restitch it. Now if you want, you can make these squares about 12 inches by 12 inches, give or take. Okay, so I got my 2 rows. And I'm going to rehang another stitch. Okay. And I'm going to knit another 2 rows. This happens because I didn't hold it tight enough. So you just reach in, grab it, and pull. And rehang. And make sure you don't do that. If you do, just push the needles back on. Okay. There's 2, and rehang a stitch. Hold it tight till the first stitch is stitched, which you'll be able to feel it once you get used to it. And rehang a stitch. Okay, and rehang a stitch. So it's knit 2 rows, rehang a stitch. Knit 2 rows. Rehang a stitch. Now when I run out of the stitches, I still need to knit 20 more rows. I think. No, I'll be casting on 10 stitches. Then working along this side here. And knit 2 rows. Rehang a stitch. Excuse me. Knit 2 rows. Rehang a stitch. Now if you have an extra transfer tool, I'll show you what you can do with it. Okay. Okay. Now, going from away from the carriage towards the carriage, load the stitches up onto the transfer tool. Now you may have to take some off. Okay, hang this one stitch on the one. Now this one, just take the needle and put into hold position, and that'll hold on to the stitches. But you do sometimes need a second transfer tool. Okay. Now you want to cast on 10 stitches. Excuse me. Using that first stitch as your loop. Okay, and once you get those 10 on there, Move your weights up to the machine. Set the needles into forward work position with the latches open. This one, make sure it stays in the forward hold position, and knit 2 rows. Okay, then take your latch hook and hang 1 stitch. Okay, and then put it back on that needle. And knit 2 rows. Okay, I got a needle out of a line somewhere. There it goes. Sometimes when you wiggle this like this, it pulls it into the right position. Okay, and hang a stitch. Set it aside. And knit 2 rows. Now if you have a paper clip or something, and you don't want to, you just stick an end, stick something into the needle, and that'll hold the stitches in place. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we gotta hang a stitch. And knit 2 rows. I always forget to pull it tight right before I stitch that first stitch. I forgot to hang the stitch, excuse me. And I have a split stitch. I'm just putting my latch tool into the needle, the stitch, and rehanging it back onto the tool, on the needle, and then stitch the stitch. Okay. Make sure all my latches are open. I'm going to rehang a stitch. Open my latches and knit 2 rows. Now hold it tight just until it catches the first stitch, and then let go. And the same coming back. Okay, rehang the stitch. It lost it, so I decided just to wait. You'll get to the point where you can feel it when it drops it. And just re-knit it. Make sure these latches are open. And knit your 2 rows. Holding it tight, feeling it catch. It didn't feel right, which it split the stitch. So that's, you can fix it either by hanging this back on there and stitching it, or take your latch tool, come in through the back, grab that stitch, pull it through and rehang it. excuse me. Okay, and knit another row. And hang another stitch. Now you're probably thinking, well, you're running out of stitches. What are you going to do? Well, you see that side? That's part of it. And when I get to here, I'm going to change color. There we go. Dropped it again. You get to feel it. It's kind of hard. You'll feel it slipping. Okay, now we hang the last stitch on here. Oops. Okay, now what you need to do, because we're going to be making a square here. You have a bump and a straight. I'm hanging the straight part of the stitch. Okay, I have needles that came forward and I did not want them to. So I'm pushing them all back and doing it again. Now I find that if I hold the thread over to the right, I do better myself knitting that first stitch. Okay, so I'm skipping the bar, catching this long piece. See? It just sometimes I forget to hold it off towards the right. Okay. Rehang the bar. Now if you want, your center can be a different color, and then the two bars, this is one color and my next edge is another color. You can use whatever colors you like. Okay, and here's the last set of 2 rows. I'm going to hang a stitch. Okay, and this is my basic square. I'm going to take it off and show you. Take my weights off. As long as you don't put any stress, tension on the threads, you can take them right off the machine and thread it. Okay. And this is what your square will look like. Now you can do this one color and this a second color. Okay. Now what you'll do is you'll bring this back up with your other color, which I'm going to use red because it's within reach. Cast on your 10 stitches. Now if you want wider or smaller stripes, if just however many stitches you choose, just double the amount for the rows. So like if you choose 5, you'll want 10 rows. If you choose 20, you'll want 40 rows. Okay, so there's that. And I'm going to hang my weights. Okay, set my threads up. And make sure I grab the right one, because I want to come up this side. Okay, so I'm going to hang this stitch. And I'm going to knit that row. Knit 2 rows, actually. Make sure my tool is out of the way. However is convenient for you. First cast on row sometimes gives me a fit. Okay, there's my 2. Rehang the first stitch. Now see how it sticks up like that? Once I get a couple rows in, I just stick the end into the row. Okay, and knit 2 rows. Rehang a stitch. Knit 2 rows. Okay, I didn't stitch that one, so just stitch the row. Rehang a stitch. Now this one I split when I put it on the holding point, so I wanted to unsplit it when I rehung it. And rehang it. Make sure your latch gets open for it. And 2 rows. And 2 rows. And 2 rows. And 2 rows. It's basically 2 rows, hang a stitch all the way until you get to the final point. Then you cast on 10. Okay, remove from the machine. Well, not yet, because I still got, so I always lift it up to check. I still got these 10 to go. Okay, then bring up my tool and rehang a stitch. Rehang a stitch. Rehang a stitch. Now you can use whatever color you want. Rehang. 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 Now this one, because it's at the end, I'm hanging every row, every stitch, because it's 10 stitches. It's the original cast on. So when I use a salvage edge, I pick up every other stitch. When I do the cast on type edge, I pick up every stitch. Okay. Now these will be moved to a yarn stitch holder. You can remove the weights, makes it easier. And if you give yourself a little pull, you can just take these off the machine. As long as you don't pull it, they're not going to go anywhere. Okay, and just thread it. Now if you want, this one is a 5mm. If you use a smaller one, it'll feed easier. If you've got regular knitting needles, that'll work too. Okay. Excuse me. Hang this one back on the machine. I'll actually put it on your tool here and cast on 10. And make that first one as snug as you can up against the needles, and without splitting it, cast on 10. Okay, put the needles into work position, latches open, and knit 2 rows. Okay, I have a needle out of alignment, and I also forgot to hang my weight. Now another thing that jams is these green retainer bars. Sometimes they pop up, especially if they get old. Okay, so let's knit the row again. I dropped a stitch. There it is. And just restitch it. I knew something didn't feel right. Put all these back into work position. And bring out your needles here. And rehang the stitch. Excuse me. Knit 2 rows. And you'll just continue this until you get it the size you want. And then just cast off at the end row, which the end row is, in this case, will be right here. Okay, because that's where I'll change my colors. Excuse me. Now I've never done a traditional log cabin, so I know there's a specific color coding, and I'm not real sure what it is. Because I think the center is a different color, and then you've got your 2 colors. Just rehang. And rehang. Okay. Now we have to go up to this point. And we're on the salvage edge, so we'll pick up the bar, which is every other. Okay. Pick up every other row. Now this one, it's the cast on edge, so I'll be picking up every stitch. Well, you don't want to do that either. What you do is just pick up that thread, pull that through, pick up that thread, and pull it through up here, and then rehang it. And then hang the next one. And then knit 2 rows. Hang the next one, because we're on a cast on edge. Okay, I lifted the carriage up by accident as I went across, so my carriage jumped, and I'm just going to knit this row by hand. Making sure all my needles, stitches are this approximate same height. Okay, and then hang the next one. And knit 2 rows. Hang the next one. Now, if this was my last row, okay, let me rephrase that. If I wanted more rows, I would put these onto a stitch holder and cast on 10 stitches. But this, I'm going to pretend this is my last row. So I'm going to do a cast off. Excuse me. And I like the crochet cast off. You could do whichever one you prefer. I like this one because if I make a mistake, it's easy to take out. And just do a crochet cast off. And snip this yarn, pull it through, snip this one and weave it in afterwards. Remove your weights. And take it off the machine. Give it a little stretch here and there. Now it's going to be a little puffy, but you can see the general idea. If you press this down, it'll flatten out. You got your center square. Then you go up and around, change colors, over and down, change colors, and you would end here. You'd cast on the 10 and just work your way around until it's the size you want. Okay? Have fun with it.